So I just wanted to, rather like Martin, to remind ourselves that this has been an issue. We have known, and way beyond even 1990, we knew we were over-consuming. We knew harm was being done and being accumulated on the planet. And this couple of slides come from my boss and mentor, Michael Dixon, president here back in 2005. This was one of his slides talking about 1990 and the headlines that we had 20 years. And this slide, which he went around very much trying to promote the cyclic economy and the way of thinking about our process as engineers in construction. And we have, over many years, developed on perhaps exemplar projects, techniques for tracking carbon, techniques for looking at life cycle costing, and so on. But we know it's been absolutely not enough. We haven't pushed and we haven't been pulled enough to move. So by now the evidence has become undeniable, and it seems to me most people that you talk to and come up against feel that's the case. It's no longer the way. It's a bit like this wolf with savage teeth has been in the distance, and we've seen it sort of coming, and we felt we ought to prepare, but the urgency wasn't there. It's now breathing down our neck. And if you saw that little, no, you probably haven't, lovely little photograph, won a photographic competition of a fox and a little rodent or other just before it was savaged to death. Interestingly, the Evening Standard then copied that photo and did a cartoon where it was, what's his name at the EU, was the fox, and our friend Prime Minister was with a little white top knot was the rodent. Anyway, we know the data now, and our ability to get that data in a convincing manner and to present it and to start to digest it tells us that things are going exponentially wrong. And I'm not here to give you a lecture on this, but it's the exponential that really worries me, that the extra bit of harm that we do, nature finds a way to make it 3 times, 10 times worse. So we don't need, we all expect to see some photos of this, but it's the visibility of the harm is very, very strong. Every day now, and I'm absolutely convinced with every day, the headlines on the BBC website, there is an issue around a climate emergency, and how it is affecting people somewhere really badly. And so I'm quite convinced that we are finally seeing the teeth of the fox. The problem is, have we actually still got enough time to deal with and defend ourselves against that fox? So I'm pleased that we move forward and we have a Structural Engineers Declaration of Climate Emergency. Here today we have a bit more of a chance together to look at what those commitments are actually saying. And in the structural engineering community, we have 140 firms, very large firms, middle-scale firms, and small firms, all have signed up, and it's growing daily. It's actually more than 114. This was a snapshot about 4 days ago. And it's worth just looking, if you don't mind, at what we've said, but in a sort of condensed way. We're talking here about advocacy. It's really important we get out there. We need to change everything. We need to, whenever we have an opportunity with a client, with someone in government, with someone in education, we need to be making them think differently too and understand differently. It needs to be about developing new capacity, about ensuring that education is developing for us. It needs to be about evaluation, setting targets and benchmarking against best practice. We need to open source share. We need to gather the data and make it available to everyone so we can all get better at this together. We need to find more and more ways of reusing and make sure legislation encourages, taxing encourages that reusing. We need to think about our impact on nature and our choices that we make that relate to natural available materials. We do need to celebrate, and it's in there in the declaration. We want to see our awards, when we award greatness in structural engineering, Where is this? What is the effect of this structural engineering on the planet? Has that been taken into account? And of course, ultimately, we need to act. Now, out of that, I like to think we've got some key buzzwords, and the funny thing is, it's telling us something. So how could you possibly forget? This will be available for others. And the important thing, of course, is we're not alone. We're not alone. It's very important that out there on the streets at this moment, Oliver Broadbent may be here. He's here, there he is, helping make sure they are out on the street. These are future customers of the universities, they're future customers of housing, they're future employees of our firms, who are saying enough is enough. We are now going to stick ourselves to the pavement and be arrested if we have to be, but we need everything to change. That's so important. And we're not alone. Perhaps most important of all, our clients are changing. The developers and investors in property and are changing. They have many of them, large developers, have now declared. Our clients, in my particular case, in culture, have made a declaration. Now, many of these people, a little bit like us, but not as much like us, don't really quite know what's the implication of this, and they need people like us to show them and help them. So these opportunities are vital. We need to be ready to go right through those open doors, and we need to be pushing at those doors to make sure they are opening. But we are not alone. And the whole construction industry, under the umbrella construction declares, if you go on the website, you will see this is now going beyond UK. We now have many architectural practices in different countries declaring, and we're starting to build up a bank of engineering declarations from other countries. And we're now working on the quantity surveyors, we're working on contractors. So it's not going to stop, it's all going to change. And that means we're just part of this tidal wave of change. And you know, interesting little bit of data. It comes from Mori, so it might be right, which just shows this is what it feels like with the journey we've been on. You know, back then, 2005, Michael Dixon, president, out there talking about using timber, talking about low carbon, talking about zero carbon, talking about running out of resources. There was a very strong concern voiced out there in the outside world about global warming. And it got diluted, it got lost somehow, and it's back. The thing now is that as it grows and grows, we must build on that. But it is weird. I think, and I can track back to projects that I've worked on, I was doing, frankly, a lot more interesting low-carbon stuff back then than I was 10 years ago, I'm afraid to say. I don't know if I'm allowed to make a joke, but I got this joke from Hugh Montgomery, and it has stuck with me. He's a fantastic climate emergency rebel professor medic. So I'm rubbish at telling jokes, so never mind. Planet Earth, maybe this is in 1 million years' time, looking pretty healthy, blue, fresh air, excellent. Sick planet, sidles up, and say, I'm not very good at these accents. I'm feeling really, really sick. I think I must have a dose of Homo sapiens. Planet Earth said, don't worry, it doesn't last long. It worked, okay. It's shocking. It might be a joke, but it's really worrying. But it is true. We have no rights to carry on this planet if we don't deal with this planet that allows us to stay here. It will carry on. It will get healthy again once we're out of the way. It may not last long. This may be the shortest episode before extinction. So this is why we have to be bold. And Martin, I'm pleased to say, agrees. This isn't a time for small steps, but that's difficult. We normally move in very small steps. We take a long time to change regulations. We take a long time to re-educate, and yet we haven't got that time. Even the ideas of really supremely hard-working cities to decarbonize isn't actually going to get us to where we really want to get. So we cannot underestimate this. There are some relatively good news stories when you can start to see how in the UK we've started to decarbonise our electricity, and we're relying quite highly on that to be able to then fuel our transport systems and so on, and ultimately fuel our home heating. These are the very, very big ticket items. What I think, and I haven't been able to do it, what I would love us to be able to do is have some kind of map. We need a sort of map of how construction decarbonises, and a timeline against which we can do that, so that we can start to be a success story like energy to some degree. And if another joke is needed, what we're talking about here is making the planet better for us. It's not like it's not just for survival. It's actually for a better place, healthier children, cleaner water, livable cities, and so on. So, doesn't matter. I mean, we just have to do it. You know, someone's saying, "What if it's a big hoax and creates a better world for nothing?" Nonsense. This is about we as engineers creating a better world and not being stupid and carrying on, ignoring what we can now see. I should have had that little photo of the fox, but just carrying on doing what we're used to doing. It's no longer safe to carry on doing what we used to do. So I'm very, very pleased you're here, and we need to just keep on growing this movement, and we need to help each other develop within our businesses how we're going to change, how we're going to change our clients, how we're going to share our successes, and so on. And I hope that today will help.